Our next guest tonight is a talented actor. This man has played some pretty rotten roles in his time. He tossed a kid off a roof in Fort Apache, the Bronx, and he can currently be seen beating up his wife in The Purple Rose of Cairo. He is also starring on Broadway in Hurly, Burly. Please welcome Danny Aiello. Boy, that's, now you've played some nasty guys, tossing a kid off the roof of the police station in the Bronx or wherever that was.
That's right.
And,
yeah,
now do you get reaction to that? People remember that sort of thing, I would guess?
Yeah, they love it. I don't know why. I walk down the street, some young kids, Puerto Rican kids and black kids in that area. This is the area, of course, that I happen to be brought up in, Fort Apache. Southeast Bronx, they'll yell, "Hey, you're the guy that threw the kid off the roof." Yeah, man, right. And it sort of, it wipes me out. It says something somewhat about our society. But before we go on, David, I'd like to say something about, this is my first national television hookup show, talk show throughout the country. And it's wonderful to follow an 89-year-old woman karate expert by the name of Lucille. And I was sitting in the green room, and I heard Paul screaming before, "Get that damn ham out of here."
Yeah, I know.
You know, Bob Morton caught me in the elevator. I thought he meant me. It's true.
Now, come on.
It's true.
Now, this is really your first talk show? You've never been on a...
Well, not a national one, of course.
We usually like to have folks who start out with Merv Griffin and then work their way up.
As a matter of fact...
kind of break them in, you know?
Well, I'll tell you the truth, I haven't. This is my first time. A little nervous, but I think I'll get over it.
Now, your most recent film was Purple Rose of Cairo,
yes.
And you play a real insufferable jerk in that one, too.
As a matter of fact, I do, and it's a strange thing, because I'm the type of person, I think, that couldn't lay his hand on anyone, certainly not a woman.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never done that in my entire life. I don't put my hands on my children.
Yeah.
However, I warn them first if ever I do.
Oh, well, that's what nice.
Is what I did, of course, in Purple Rose of Cairo.
You're a real nasty guy. You know what? I'm watching the movie and I'm thinking to myself, how could this woman have married this guy in the first place? I mean, because you were just non-stop annoying.
I wonder that also. But Woody, you know, he's able to do some marvelous things as a director and writer, and he was able to develop that, and it worked.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, playing that guy was not a very nice thing for me to do. I mean, no one wants to play a really bad sort of a guy, which everyone sort of looks down on, but it was with Woody Allen, after all.
Yeah.
And I had the opportunity of being in what I consider a classic film, and the critics, of course, have bailed me out. I think every actor wants to have an ounce of immortality in his life, and I think Woody Allen's permitted that.
What was he like to work with?
Great
We've
guy.
talked to other people who have worked in films with him, and they say that they don't really talk to him much. I mean, which I seem, that's hard to believe if he's directing and he's not talking to people.
Well, I think he does most of his directing when he casts. It's very funny. Woody knows who he's casting. He knew I was that guy in his mind. What he does, he's a very simplistic director. He doesn't like to get necessarily analytical. He says, "Danny, you're analyzing. Don't do that. Just, it's there, you've got to do it." The most he will give you in the way of direction is, "Danny, be a little happier.
Right.
Danny, be a little less angry." Or something along those lines. The kind of guy Woody is, he's a great stickball player. He's
and did you really play stickball?
Absolutely.
Really?
We played stickball up in Piermont, New York.
Yeah.
I would throw to him, and he'd hit, and he'd throw to me, and I'd hit.
Did you ever see him break a sweat?
As a matter of fact, no.
See, I get the feeling this guy doesn't sweat.
Well, I think he runs a lot.
Yeah. Now let me ask you about another scene. You beat up Paul Newman. Now that in Fort Apache, different movie.
Well, that was strange because we fought for about 8 hours in that movie. We were shooting it up in West End. To get it right. It only lasted about a minute and a half on the screen, as you know, and it was kind of a heavy fight. I mean, we were gouging because Paul said to me, "How do you want to fight it?" I said, "Well, whatever you want to do is all right with me." I said, "All right, let's not make it a Hollywood fight, you know, with pretty punches and so forth and winding up." So he said, "Why don't we grapple, rip, gouge, put fingers in noses?" And that's exactly what we did. We bit each other. Well, we killed each other for like 8 hours. And suddenly a voice from off the screen yelled out, "Don't hit him in the face." It was my wife. And she wasn't talking about me.
Talking about you.
I swear this is true. David, so help me God, this is true.
Now I guess before you became an actor on a regular basis, you were a union leader. You were a powerful man in this country.
Well, I don't know how powerful I was. I was quite young at the time. I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
What union was this?
It was the Greyhound Union. It was the Amalgamated Transit Union.
Were you a driver?
No, I was never a driver. I was a public address announcer, but before that, I was a baggage man. And worked myself up to a point where I ran for shop steward, then eventually vice president, then finally president, and I won. I was in that position for approximately 10 years.
What does an announcer do? I guess we know what they do. They just call up cities.
You know, he's the guy who
Can you still do that?
I think I remember somewhat some of the towns. I'm not sure they'll come out in the proper order, but I'm the guy whose voice you would hear saying, "May I have your attention, please? On platform number 3, a coach for Philadelphia, Harrisburg, Pittsburgh, Wheeling, Columbus, Indianapolis, Terre Haute, Effingham, St. Louis. Now loading platform number 3. On platform number 2, a coach for Jersey City, Newark, Mount Clair, Denville, Dover, Bud Lake, Hackettstown, Stroudsburg, Mount Pocono, Tobyhanna, Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, Clark, Summit, Nicholson, Halstead, Great Bend, Binghamton, Pittston, Towanda, Waverly, Elmira, Corning, Bath, Batavia, Hornell, Mount Morris, and Buffalo.
That's right. Danny, thank you very much. Congratulations.
It's a pleasure being here.
Danny Aiello, folks. We have to do a commercial. We'll be right back. He's been showing off all night, hasn't he? Yeah. But I noticed for his solo, they had to switch guitars, so I think there's some kind of a magic guitar he was using.
You think so?
And I'm telling you, I really have the blues now. I'm really very, very, very depressed. Thank you.
Well, do you need
I'm drunk now, too. I'm really drunk. I just hope I don't go home and do something stupid. Thank you, Gary, very much. Our next guest was nominated for an Academy Award for his role in the film Moonstruck, and his latest film is called Once Around. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is again, a very talented man, Danny Aiello. Danny. Why? Why does he play that?
It was Do the Right Thing.
Do the Right Thing?
Yeah.
Which was, no, that was...
That was Academy Award nomination was Do the Right Thing, not Moonstruck.
Oh, was it? But why does Paul play that music?
I have no idea.
That was Papa Just Wants the Best for you.
That was, I see. That was the answer to Madonna's Papa Don't Preach.
You played Madonna's father in the Madonna video.
Yeah, it was about 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, have you seen the new Madonna video?
No, I haven't.
That's the hottest thing going.
I can't watch it. My wife won't let me.
Yeah, she takes her clothes off and everything.
I know, it's terrible.
She's naked for the whole thing is what I hear. What do you mean you can't stand it?
I can't handle it.
Did you, when you were in the other video, did you see her naked at all?
Never.
Any time during this?
No.
Let's see. Our next guest was nominated for an Academy Award, so it wasn't Moonstruck. I want to correct this for the next guy. It was Do the Right Thing.
Yeah, it was
okay, we'll just make that, put it into our files. Now, we know about your great success as an actor. Let's talk a little bit about, I know that you were, for a time in your earlier life, were maybe out of necessity, I don't want to say the word criminal, but a guy who occasionally did things, of course, you would never do now.
No, of course not. I did some bad things in my past.
Bad
I was
things.
simply doing it to keep a roof over our head.
Yeah.
Things such as safes. You know, a lot of people go around thinking, well, a safe, what is it, S-A-F-E.
Yeah,
safe. And people are under the impression I was some sort of a safe cracker, which of course I wasn't.
Yeah, well, what would you do? What would your role be in this safe activity?
Well, we'd go into an abandoned building, and hopefully we'll find an old safe laying around there that might have some money in it. But I couldn't crack it. I didn't know how to do it. So what we do is, we go in and we'd lift it up. If we were on the second floor, we'd throw it out the back window. And if it opened, we'd go in and check it out. If not, we put it in our car, we went to a junkyard, and we hit it with sledgehammers for about an hour and a half.
So it was the...
You had to be there.
It was the intricate work that you were involved in.
It was very intricate.
The precision.
And when you finally ripped one of these safes open, what was the biggest thing you found in there?
I think about $12.50.
Really?
Yeah, it was a big day.
And then that money or whatever you had was used to buy food, to buy clothing?
Whatever it was, you know, rent. There were times that we were behind in rent, maybe 5 or 6 months, and we had to earn money. So,
yeah, this is for
at that time,
you and your
bouncing.
family.
I was doing bouncing jobs at the Improvisation in Roseland and things of that
nature. Now,
nature.
now, at the Improv, I can't imagine there ever being real trouble for a bouncer. It's a comedy club, one of the first comedy clubs here in New York.
You're right. There's comics.
Yeah.
They don't believe in violence, as you well know.
Sure, they get heckled a little bit.
They're liberally oriented kinds of guys. I'm conservative, but the trouble that we did have, one night there was a performer on stage, her name was Cassandra Dan. She was with high-heeled women. I don't know if you know this kid.
Doesn't ring a bell.
She was just getting herself together, and there was a man in the back who was saying all sorts of derogatory things. I told him to shut up.
Yeah. Was the guy drunk? Was it late?
He was drunk. He weighed about 400 pounds. He was one of Mayor Lindsay's associates at the time, and I didn't know who he was. He said something to her. I said, shut up. I said, leave the girl alone. He said something about my mother, and I said, as if I didn't hear it, I said, what'd you say? And he repeated it. He started to get up, and I hit him on top of his head, and he went through the table.
Wow. What did you hit him with on the top of the head?
My fist.
Just boom, right on the top of the head?
I'm a very heavy hitter.
Yeah,
very hard.
And so you...
As a matter
No, hey, watch it. Easy. We're just teasing here with it.
I don't hit anymore.
So now, wait a minute, Danny. You pop this guy right on the top of the skull. He goes down?
He goes out, and Bud Friedman, the proprietor of the Improv at the time...
You should have hit him.
I did. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. Well, Bud got worried.
This is for water in the drinks!
He's done that, too.
Yeah.
But when I did hit this guy, it was frightening at the time. But Bud Friedman, because he was a politician, said they're going to close my joint.
Yeah.
So he gave me a week's pay and kept me out of the place for
got
a week.
you. So you actually were, I mean, in a pretty wide gray area of activity. You could have done time for either of these two things.
I could have. I thank God, you know, and a lot of other people were responsible for my becoming an actor. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
But also, you know, through the improvisation, I went on to...
So it was a good place to just be and sort of watch other people work.
Well, I would straight for other people. I was not a monologist. I wasn't a stand-up comedian. What I would do is straight for guys like Freddie Prinze, who you know, of course, and David Fry and people like that. It was a good experience for me.
You also one time held a guy off the Brooklyn, the George Washington Bridge by his feet? What was that?
No, I had a fist fight in the George Washington
Bridge.
So this is true. My daughter and my wife, Sandy, were with me.
Oh, that's nice to bring the family.
No, some guy did.
Come on, we're going to go up.
Some guy was alongside me in the car trying to get to the toll booth. We went through the toll booth. We were on the other side. There was static traffic. We're not moving. He looked at us. Apparently, he knew who I was, whatever that was. He threw a cigarette out the window, popped on my wife's side, and he took off. Traffic released, and he went. I went crazy, so I went after him.
So, no, what I mean, he recognized you as an actor?
I didn't know this until later. So I'm speeding across the bridge. He slams on his brakes in the middle of the bridge. Now, I slammed on mine about 4 feet from this guy. We both got out, and I beat the hell out of him. The guy was about 6'3". He was about 28 years old, and apparently he was looking to create some sort of a suit, which he did. He tried to sue me later. Was thrown out of court.
Oh, he sued you?
Well, we were both called guilty, but he ended up in the hospital with a concussion at the time. I must sound like a guy who loves to hit. I don't.
But now, when was the last time? How long ago was the last violent episode in your life?
3 years ago.
3 years ago.
I walked into a place by the name of Jerry's with my friend Tony Conforti.
Jerry's. Where is Jerry's?
It was downtown, 11th Avenue. It's no longer here.
Oh, no longer there.
I think it's called Scoliotes now or something. And this bartender came from behind the bar as I walked in. He said, I'm going to kill you. Put his hands around my neck. I slipped his... Bam! I hit him. He went down.
That's it. Care for a candy? Do we have any candy for the man?
David, the interesting
thing
is...
I mean, Danny, you ought to be growing out of this.
You have to understand what happened.
See, I said how long ago I was going to think. You say, oh, 15, 16, 20 years ago. You're saying 3 years ago.
It was about 3 years ago. It was the last time I hit a person.
You should be growing out of this.
Hit a person.
You were nominated for an Academy Award, for heaven's sake.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, well, relax. Settle down a little bit. And the new movie with Richard Dreyfuss and Holly Hunter, people tell me it's very entertaining.
It's a wonderful movie.
Yeah, it's a great film. And you play Holly Hunter's father and the head of the family.
Joe Beller and Laura San Giacomo.
Is it open now?
It's opening now wide. It's a big hit, but I want everyone to get out there and see it. I don't like plugging a motion picture, but it's great.
Or you'll come by and...
I may hit some people.
Danny, good to see you again.
It's good to see you.
Glad things are going so well for you. What are we doing? All right, we'll do a commercial and be right back here. Come back another night. We'll have strippers here. It'll be perfect. All right, Gary, will you do that? We'll get strippers and you can play and it'll be great. We'll put up a runway and everything. Danny, come back. We'll have strippers here.
I'd love to.
Yeah, good. Okay. Have a good night, folks. Thanks for being here. Our next guest is a very talented actor and one of our favorite movie tough guys. This is the real deal here. Beginning Sunday, he's starring in the CBS miniseries Mario Puzo's The Last Don. Here he is, Danny Aiello. Danny! You look like a tough guy. You're ready to go.
Is this what John Goodman was drinking last night?
No, we still haven't got the results from the lab on that, Danny. So enjoy that at your own.
I didn't mean that because I love John.
He's a very nice guy.
Yeah, he sure is.
I think he was just preoccupied. I think he was fine. Very nice man. I think he was just preoccupied a little bit.
He's a very good friend of mine.
Yeah. How you doing?
Great, fine.
Good. This is like your neighborhood, isn't it? Broadway, 53rd and Broadway?
I was born on West 68th Street here in New York, and I lived in the Hell's Kitchen area for my young years. At the age of 7, we moved up to the South Bronx.
But you did some work in theater in New York City, didn't you?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I thought I worked in this theater, but I didn't. I worked in the Helen Hayes Theater, many of the theaters in New York. I did about 8 plays here.
Yeah.
I love the theater.
Did you ever have trouble on stage? It's got to be after a while. Anything can go wrong. I mean,
there was a show that we did called Lamppost Reunion. It was written by this wonderful writer. His name is Louis LaRusso II. We were able to go out and we did a backers audition and accumulated some money to get the show on Broadway. Unfortunately, we didn't know who the guys were that were putting the money up. So there was a day that I was doing a scene, and after the first act had broken, one of the actors who had left the stage before we broke the first act was being carried out, being hit with blackjacks.
Oh, really?
That was my first experience.
It's an old theater tradition.
Yeah, you really had to beat it.
I think Helen Hayes started that, as a matter of fact. She used to beat up guys with blackjacks. Oh, that Helen.
There was another show, too, Knockout, which Eddie O'Neill, the kid who works with Married with Children.
Yeah.
Eddie and I, we used to land about 98 punches a night. It was a fight show, actually.
What was the piece of work you guys did with Sean Penn?
We did Hurly, Burly.
Oh, yeah. That was kind of a physical...
It was very physical. He was using drugs in that particular stage play, Hurly, Burly, and I was trying to get him to not use it. And there was a day that he was unable to perform, so some understudy went on. And it used to get pretty rough on the stage, but this understudy went on, and I thought the show was not going well because everyone was there to see Sean Penn. He wasn't there. Yeah. And I'm working with this guy who normally would be Sean Penn, and he wasn't. So there was no action happening on the stage. So suddenly I was terrified. I'm saying, this isn't working. They're not listening. I'm hearing myself talk. I'm hearing all the words. I'm not real. I'm not real. So what I did was I ripped the guy apart. I ripped off his shirt. I started punching him. You had to be there, David.
Just beat him up.
I beat the hell out of him. Now, I began... This is God's truth. What happened was... he reminded me somewhat of my son, Danny, and at the end of that particular show, he came into my dressing room, and I began to cry. I was so upset that I had done this to another actor, and one that young who looked like my son, whom I've never hit in my life. And I went to David, and I said, David, I'm sorry I did that. I didn't mean to. Something came over me. I thought we were losing the audience as we are now. And he said, Danny, he said, do me a favor. He said, please, do it again. It's God's truth. I gave him a beating every night he was on.
I know we've talked about this before, but when you started acting a little later in your life, and you had an array of other jobs, and I think we've talked about the bus job, the Greyhound, deep. Where was this?
In New York City at the 50th Street bus terminal.
And you actually called the bus destination?
That was my first entrance into the motion picture business. I thought I had a melodic voice, and it was one I loved.
How did you get that job? How did you even know that job existed? How did you know they were hiring for that
they
job?
Didn't hire. I started as a baggage man. I went on to become the president of that union, but an intermediate stop was that particular job. I always wanted to announce buses. And what I would do is simply say...
Set those goals high, Danny.
Yes, I did.
Let that be a lesson to you.
Those are my standards at that time. But if you walk by the Port of Authority or the 50th Street Terminal in those days, you might have heard this. May I have your attention, please? A platform number 3, a coach for Philadelphia, Chester, Wilmington, Dover, Seaford, Laurel, Salisbury, Princess Anne, Pocomoke City, Kiptabeek Beach, Little Creek, and Norfolk. This coach connects in Jersey City with Newark, Mount Clair, Denville, Dover, Bud Lake, Hackettstown, Stroudsburg, Mount Pocono, Tobyhanna, Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, Clark, Summit, Nicholson, Halstead, Great Bend, Binghamton, Cortland, Ithaca, Geneva, Canandaigua, Pittston, Towanda, Waverly, Elmira, Corning, Bath, Batavia, Hornell, Mount Morris, and Buffalo.
Wow. That's a nice piece of work. That's pretty good. Man, that's pretty good.
It was a wonderful time in my life. There are certain things that you don't forget.
Have you ever used that in a film? That's a great scene in a film. That'd be a great little addition, a guy who has memorized bus destinations. You know, I'm serious. You're sitting around.
There are certain things that you never forget in life, and that happens to be one. It was a very important time in my life. It was the first job that I had. I took great pride in it.
Yeah.
And who knew where I was going in my future life? And I said, if ever I fail, I could always come back to announcing buses.
You know, it
was something to look forward to.
It's a lovely little part of your life. It's a very nice thing.
I think so.
Let's talk about the miniseries, the movie, the Last Don.
Yeah.
This is you. You're the head of the crime family.
Yeah, his name is Domenico Claracuzio. I was kind of apprehensive about it because Brando was negotiating to do the role.
Oh, is that right?
Well, he had the job. If they met his money demands, I suppose he would have been the one. But and he would have been great. But of course, he did the Don. He played Don Vito Corleone. But this guy is different. And also, Brando's not from New York. I am. He's not an Italian. I am.
Yeah.
So But I would like to qualify that no one do I admire more as an actor than Marlon Brando.
Yeah, but can he call bus destinations?
But
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I don't think so either. But it's an interesting. It was directed by Graham Clifford, who did this movie called Francis.
Are you pleased with it?
I'm so happy with it. It turned out. Look, when I was first doing it, I was, as I said before, very apprehensive. When the man called me up to do it, Les Moonves, he said, "I want you to be the Don." And I said, geez, I'm not sure, you know, it's kind of apprehensive. And he said, do it. I said, well, there's only 2 weeks to go before I have to put this character in my mind. He said, you can do it, you can do it. So I went back, I thought for a while, I said, yes, I'm interested. And I never played age before. I played this guy at the age of 85. I've worked the stage, I've worked television and movies, but never did I play age. How do you do it? I mean, do you use trick voices? How do you suddenly become old? All right, prosthetics help you. You know, they put things on your face, they make you appear older, but still you have to have the voice.
You know how I do it.
The movement. How'd you do it?
I do the show every night. But seriously, now that you're the Don, could you like arrange a hit on somebody at the CBS?
I could do that very easily. As a matter of fact, I had one planned for you until I came out.
When does it begin, Danny?
Well, it begins at 9 o'clock Sunday night.
9 o'clock Sunday.
And Tuesday and Wednesday.
Good for you. I hope it's a huge hit.
Thank you so much.
Nice to have you here. Danny Aiello, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back with the Crossbows of Death. Our first guest is an Academy Award-nominated actor and most recently starred in the very successful miniseries right here on the CBS called The Last Don. His new CBS program, Dellaventura, premieres September 23rd. Here's the always enjoyable Danny Aiello. Danny! Nice to have you back on the show. You must be very, very excited because we're very close to the premiere of your TV show, aren't we?
Yeah, it's kind of excited. Yeah. September 23rd.
September 23rd. Dellaventura.
Dellaventura.
Now, are you Dellaventura?
I'm him.
Yeah?
I'm the guy.
What is it about? You're a tough Italian guy? Is that what it's about?
Yeah. Well, I hit a lot of people, and if that's what you mean.
Oh, cool. Are you a private eye? Are you a cop?
Private investigator, security specialist, all of those things.
And you're always
compassionate, sensitive.
You're always beating up punks, though, right?
I like hitting punks.
Yeah. And how are you going to handle the punks? So you get a special style, a signature punch, signature.
Well, at the conclusion of each show, I will knock someone out with a different kind of a punch.
Wow.
Well,
now that, ladies and gentlemen,
there will definitely be no kicking in this show.
No kicking?
This is the all-American kind of beating. It's like, maybe a left hook, maybe a straight right hand, maybe a jab, these guys. This is not Chuck Norris. That's none of that. We
don't need that Walker, Texas Ranger stuff.
I love that show. But it's
good old-fashioned American beating. Exactly. You've had other television series before, haven't you, or not?
No, not really. I did something with a young lady a long time ago. It was called Lady Blue. I was sort of the second in command in that particular show.
So this is your first regular starring vehicle on television.
I felt it was time to get out of movies. I got tired of traveling. I wanted to do something here in New York City, and Les Moonves. I mean, after all, this is my home. I was born on West 68th Street, and I said, thank you very much. She's here. She showed up. I've always wanted to work in New York City. This was an opportunity to do so.
Do you like working in town? Do you like working this close to home?
Well, it's great. I mean, I'm on the street shooting, and there are people walking by. We're actually doing a scene, and they jump right into the scene.
Sure.
I don't say cut. I say keep them in. Let's keep doing it. A lot of it is better than the writing that I probably have anyway, and we just...
So people in the city actually have an opportunity now to be part of your show? Is that what you're saying?
We're looking for the next Bobby De Niro. It may be right off the street. You'll never know. It's great.
Well, that's a very generous, very thoughtful attitude.
Well, I'm that kind of guy.
Yeah. I predict in 2 weeks you'll be doing the show in Chicago.
No. Never will happen. Never will happen.
But you were on the Last Don, which was like a huge miniseries. For you have an affinity for crooks, crime guys, don't you? I mean, there's something there. I mean, there's something of you that you can kind of play that. You know what I mean?
The kind of upbringing I had, I was sort of a kid who was sort of led astray at times.
Really?
How
far astray did you get?
Well, about 450 miles from where I am right now. I think it was Ossining, New York. No. I'm not sure. No, that's Sing Sing, ladies and gentlemen. You had to be there. But
many of our audience members have been there.
I've never been that kind of trouble, but I
suppose... You were a tough guy.
Well, I hit. I was a hitter, but I never did anything so bad.
Yeah.
No, you love hitters. I was told David wants to talk about the physicality of you, not the intellectuality.
No, because when I was a kid back in Indianapolis, I had a paper route,
Were you a hitter?
For like 30 years.
Were you a hitter or a hittee?
No, nothing. No,
you got hit a lot?
No, I still have trouble making a fist.
Let me think. Should I teach you how to throw a couple?
Yeah, let's see what you got.
Well,
but don't hurt me. Just don't.
You see, no. I wouldn't swing at you.
Right to the camera.
Well, you see, the thing is, there are 22 episodes that I'll be doing of Dellaventura. And we have the idea that before the conclusion of each show, or at the conclusion, each monster, each bad guy should get one at the end. It's very difficult to get 22 different kinds of punches.
All right, here's what we'll do.
Yes.
Let's do a commercial. When we come back, Danny will show you how to toss a punch. We'll be right back.
Yes.
Let's do a commercial. When we come back, Danny will show you how to toss a punch. We'll be right back. Danny Aiello. All right, Just we'll use this camera right here, Danny. Show the folks how you handle a punk.
You know, there are many that you have to throw. I haven't really developed 22 kinds of punches. I'll throw 4 now. This first of all.
Okay, we're talking about a combination or just one punch?
If I'm going like this here, this is the kind of punch that a jab which can knock a person out. That Sonny Liston used to throw.
Sure.
Right? Bam! Just like
that'll
right?
take a guy down.
Now, out in a minute. Now, when you want to throw a right hand, a straight right hand, bam! Just like that.
See,
right?
I didn't see that coming.
You don't see it coming.
No, you don't see it coming. No.
Now, the one that usually takes you out, but this is the one that you don't see because it comes from the side. That's called a left hook.
Whoa!
Like that. You understand?
Yeah, wow.
That's it.
All right, could I try a little something?
Yes, you can.
Try to see what I can do here. I'm not really a violent man.
Oh,
so
what's he got? You look like the Blues Brothers.
Where's the tough guy? Where's the punk? Which one of you guys needs a good beating? Where the hell's that punk who was causing trouble? All right. He came in like that, I think.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, I think so. All right. Now, see, I need the slow motion. So it's going to look silly. It's going to look like a sissy. But wait till you see it in slow motion. All right, you ready for this? Anton, help me out here, buddy. Oh, and I got to step down here. Okay, this is going to be something. Ready? This one's coming out of my shoes, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, that's
all right,
great.
now,
let's
take a look. Now, wait a minute. Let's take a look at that in slow motion. Watch this, ladies and gentlemen. Be prepared to get scared. Very, very scared. There it is. Good night, Mom!
Great stuff.
Is there a bird on the camera?
May I take these off for a minute?
Oh, my God. We're having some fun tonight, aren't we, Danny? You know, the last time you were on the show, you told us a great story about your days working at, is it Penn Station or Grand Central?
I worked at the Port Authority.
Oh, the Port Authority,
I was
that's
at the Greyhound bus union
Right.
at the time, and I was the public address announcer there.
Yeah.
I think you know about the bus calls.
You did some, I think, for us.
Well, I was a guy, if you walk by 50th Street or 42nd Street
You
at
announced
that time,
the destination.
you might have heard, may I have your attention, please, on platform number 3, a coach for Philadelphia, Chester, Wilmington, Dover, Seaford, Laurel, Salisbury, Princess Anne, Pocomoke City, Kip-to-Peak Beach, Little Creek, and Norfolk. This coach connects in Jersey City for Newark, Mount Clair, Denville, Dover, Bud Lake, Hackettstown, Stroudsburg, Mount Pocono, Tobyhanna, Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, Clark, Summit, Nicholson, Halstead, Great Bend, Binghamton, Cortland, Ithaca, Geneva, Canandaigua, Pittston, Towanda, Waverly, Elmira, Corning, Bath, Batavia, Hornell, Mount Morris, and Buffalo.
Yeah!
You know, Dave, when we were doing, if I may, when I was working at the terminal and doing those bus announcements, at the Port Authority, we had wing windows on the booth that I worked. And at times, it was boring to mention the towns that you were announcing. So there were times you had friends in the terminal working in the terminal, and you would incorporate them into the schedule.
Right.
May I have your attention, please, on platform number 3, a coach for Philadelphia, Harrisburg, Gettysburg, Wheeling, Lettermansville, Murphytown, and it was the most extraordinary thing you could ever imagine. And someone by the name of Murphy was that me? I don't know that town. You know,
I have vacation property in Murphytown. Dellaventura premieres CBS right here Tuesday, September 23rd, 10 p.m. Hope everybody's watching. Danny, good to see you again. Thanks again. Danny Aiello. We'll be right back with a bonus stupid human trick and Radiohead.
everything you could ever imagine. And someone by the name of Murphy was that me? I don't know that town. You know,
I have vacation property in Murphytown. Dellaventura premieres CBS right here Tuesday, September 23rd, 10 p.m. Hope everybody's watching. Danny, good to see you again. Thanks again. Danny Aiello. We'll be right back with a bonus stupid human trick and Radiohead. Kitties. Can't wait till the Helena Bonham Carter segment of the show. Let me know when that comes up. Nothing against our first guest, Danny Aiello.
No.
Danny Aiello, if you've seen the Dellaventura show, Danny Aiello is Dellaventura. It's on Tuesday night. It was on earlier. And it's about a guy, Danny Aiello, who's Dellaventura, who's a cop who beats up punks.
I see.
There's many good, fine things about New York City, and there's one bad thing about New York City.
What's that?
It's crawling with punks. There's an endless, nearly infinite supply of punks here in New York City. That's why, hence, Dellaventura, who beats up punks. Yeah. Our first guest is the star of his very own television program, Dellaventura. It just aired right here on CBS. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Dellaventura himself, Danny Aiello. Danny. Welcome back to the show, Danny. Congratulations on the success of the show. You got a big hit there.
I think so.
For yourself, CBS, and everybody.
Changed format a little bit.
You changed the format.
We're hitting people every other show.
Oh, really?
Just wanted you to know that.
Because in the beginning, you promised America that you'd beat up a punk every show.
There are only so many punches that you can throw. You understand? It's no, we're doing it every other show.
Yeah.
Now it's working.
Now, do you enjoy being tied to a weekly project like this?
It's difficult. You know, 16
Hard
hours
work,
a day
ain't it?
shooting. Really,
Yeah.
I know. You know, doing movies, you have a lot more time to do things, develop a character. But television, it's a very difficult medium.
On the other hand, sometimes making a film, and I don't know this, I've only made a handful of films. Cabin Boy, thank you. It can be boring, can be tedious work, long hours of waiting for guys to move cable and stuff.
That's one of the reasons why I decided to go into television.
Yeah, good for you.
Let me tell you, it's a very, very difficult thing to do, but I'm glad Les Moonves talked me into doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've had
Les
so much
Moonves,
fun.
of course, is the president
CBS
of CBS Network. Yeah.
He's been very kind to us.
No longer with the company. Gone, he's left. You were injured recently making the show, right?
We were shooting out at the track here in the Meadowlands, and this wonderful horse by the name of High Tier backed up a little bit and stepped on my foot.
Painful?
Well, it was painful at the time, but you know, I was too embarrassed to say anything. I didn't want to scream. I didn't want to be a punk. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That would mark you
I mean,
as a punk.
this guy backed up on me, and I wanted to say politely, and I did. I tapped him on his ass. Excuse my expression. Sorry. I'm somewhat embarrassed by saying that, but
we're not talking about Les Moonves again, are we? Okay.
No, I sort of tapped High Tier in the behind to
Yeah.
ask him to remove himself from my foot. And what he did was he sort of bucked up again and went back on it again.
Oh, so he got you twice.
Well, the fortunate thing, he didn't have a shoe on, so it was the softest part of his hoof. But I did have to go to the hospital. They x-rayed it, and it came out. I had a cracked toe, but it did nothing to my inside.
Now, these animals weigh, what is it, 3,000 pounds? A ton and a half, something like that?
I thought, I exaggerated at first. I thought it was about 2,000 pounds, which is what I first said. Then I understood that it was 1,200, and then finally it's down to 900.
Oh.
So it may actually be about 500, I'm not sure.
But a half a ton. I mean,
It was heavy.
if you're going to get stepped on at the track, better by a jockey than a horse, I would think. And I've been stepped on by jockeys, and I think you know that. I told you that story.
You did.
Stepped years ago,
that.
right out of the service,
Yes.
stepped on by jockeys. I can't go into it now because the court thing.
Well, the day after that, I was, they were radio micing me, as you know.
One of these little deals here,
You have
right?
the little,
Yeah.
they put it on you, and I had that T-shirt up, and they were pasting it to my
Oh, you're
body.
wearing a wire.
Which,
Wearing a
yes,
wire,
a
so
wire,
wearing a wire,
which
yeah.
is bad in my national. Anyway, what happened was something flew out of my shirt. It turned out to be a yellow jacket.
Oh.
I felt this very warm feeling that sort of overcame me for a moment. You know, and the guy looked at me and he said, "I think you've just been bitten."
Right.
And this
Stung, I think.
huge-
Stung,
absolutely.
yeah.
Well, no, it bit me. It didn't sting me.
Didn't sting
because
you,
the
it
stinger
bit
was
you.
not left. It bit me. This son of a gun bit me. This little... He had a mouth about that big. It went in, and it took a chunk out of my damn stomach.
Wow.
I had to run back to the hospital. Now, the same girl, Frances, who took care of my foot, by the way, she said, "Danny, your foot is not too pretty, which is a terrible thing to get. You know, someone checking your foot is bad.
Yeah.
But I had to go back the next day, and she checked my stomach. And I had a reaction. I mean, it was like a mountain on my stomach.
Right.
But the next day, of course, I went back to work.
What'd she say about your stomach? What's that? I'm sure. That's a regular Mona Lisa compared to his foot. We're in business now.
She said, I love hairless stomachs.
Oh,
she said
please,
that.
you're making us all sick. Now, come on. But now, I want to go back to something here.
Yeah.
I'll bet you $5 you weren't bitten by a yellow jacket.
I don't know what I was... They told me that sometimes it's an angry kind of bee. He said it was a yellow jacket. I never saw it.
Right.
Apparently, there are many bees there in the stables because they attack, unfortunately, the horses, and flies do. So they happen to be around there.
Right.
I suppose looking for a place to land. But it went away. They tell me when a bee does sting that they leave the stinger and they'll die.
Well, right, that's a bee. I don't know that, strictly speaking, that applies to a yellow jacket.
I don't know.
That's a whole different deal.
I have no idea.
We need an entomologist. No, I'm not really, except that I think what to worry about with the animals that make this noise, because they're so busy doing that, they can't bite you. It's impossible.
Now,
if you're making that noise, you can't be bitten.
Just a
Then you
moment.
sting. That's what it is.
David, I know quite a few people in my life who have done that, and they've bit. And they've bit. You understand? Well, anyway, this particular thing did bite me, and it was jagged, and it lasted for about a week and a half.
Wow. So you're just getting pummeled, getting wrecked on this show,
There
aren't
were
you?
3 days in a row, and then the next day, of course, I ripped my finger off, had a couple of stitches and that. It was just one of those unfortunate weeks. But they said it happens in threes.
Yeah, so you're clear.
I'm clear right now.
You're ready to go.
Except to what might happen here.
No, don't even, because I ain't feeling that great, you know what I mean?
But you look great, David.
I do? Oh,
But
thank you. Well, did you vote today?
I voted today about 6:30 in the morning because I had a call on the set here in New York City at 7. Anyone who votes at 6:30 in the morning must hate who he's voting against.
Yeah.
And I hate the person I'm voting against, so I would have been there at 4 o'clock.
Well, it's not that you hate anybody. You're exercising your right, your privilege.
No, I hate this
as an
person.
American. Oh, yeah.
No, I detest this person. I detest every part of this person.
How are your big shot friends? You going to have them on the show?
Which ones?
Well,
Some
you know,
of the
like
actors?
Harvey Keitel,
Well, we spoke about
Robert
Harvey.
De Niro,
Well,
those guys.
They are friends, I
Yeah.
suppose, and it's very difficult to get motion picture actors to do television. But in the case of Harvey has promised at some point he will come on.
You've saved
When
those
he-
guys. You've saved them over and over and over again.
You
This
think-
is the least they can do for you.
How do you mean that, Dave?
If they were really your friends, whatever you want, whatever you want, you know?
You know, I would like them to do it. I
It'd
would
be
like
nice.
them
What's
to
it going
have...
to kill, like De Niro, just to walk through, you know, and
I don't
wave
think
or
it would be a
something?
problem because
Yeah.
he's been doing some
You
shows.
just invite
on
him on to beat up a punk?
You know, it's getting me you know, now that you remind, I'm getting kind of upset that he hasn't done my damn show. And him and Harvey and the rest of them.
The show was on earlier tonight, 10 o'clock.
It's on 10.
Yeah, Dellaventura. Big hit here for CBS. We're very happy to have you with us, Danny.
Thank you very much.
Danny Aiello. We'll be right back with the lovely Helena Bonham Carter.